Hi there. In this video I'm going to be sharing information which relates to design skills and setting. We're going to be talking about how we create styles to suit face shapes and profiles, taking into consideration body proportions, the natural tendencies of the hair, any key features of the person's stature, and what is required to create an illusion. Using hair to beautify and using roller placement to create wave and movement. Before we start on our technical aspect, I'm going to be talking about design skills. But I think what's really important is for you to understand that setting isn't just for creating or styles for a more mature person. Setting placement is to create wave and movement and maintain longevity, and that is one of the key advantages of setting hair from wet to dry, is you can create a beautiful finish on the hair in addition to creating a shape or a design that will last for the client. I think it's important that you understand that even if we look at this image here, that a simple set can create something for a more mature client, or it can create styles for younger clients as well. And these three images are very similar design placements. In this particular image here, we can use our roller placement and our understanding of wave and movement to create slightly longer and fuller styles that are very difficult to create with a blow-over. Using a roller placement or a wet set is going to give you more longevity as opposed to a blow wave, which is only going to last a short amount of time. So before we get started on our technical skills, let's look at the key areas that we need to consider when creating a design. Remember that hair is a tool, and we are using that tool to maximize the key aspects or the really positive attributes of a client, and minimize any perhaps not so ideal or any features that are less than ideal. Okay, so we're looking at our 7 face shapes. Oval being our perfect face shape, which is slightly broader in the temple area and slightly narrower in the jawline. We have square, round, rectangle, heart, diamond and pear face shape. And you can read about this in your resource. The intention with your designs is to create the illusion of oval. And you will do this by using hair to either increase width, decrease width, increase length or height, or decrease length or height. If you use words such as increase and decrease, you can communicate with your client your intention with your design lines, visualize the client's face shape and visualize how you'll make it oval. If I first discuss how we would work with our face shapes to create this oval, that's going to help you with your designs. For example, if we have a square face shape, we are wanting to soften the angles, so create a style that will curve and soften those angles. We need to increase length and decrease width. In terms of a round face shape, to work towards oval, we need to increase length, and we can do that by adding height to our design or adding length this way to our design. If we're looking to increase length, we can use those two styling skills. We also use things like our fringes to soften our front hairlines and soften our angles. We would really just need to soften across this area here where we have the widow's peak. We wouldn't want to add any width to our forehead or our temple area, and we would certainly just want to sort of soften around our jawline, nothing too sharp or angular on our jawline. I've popped these up here so that I can explain how sometimes stylists end up making a face shape look more diamond with the hair styling. So this lady has a diamond face shape, and with this pointy opening in her front hairline of her design line, that just makes her face shape look more diamond. Likewise, this angle at this lower area here comes in this way, so she's got that diamond shape of her hairstyle going along with the diamond face shape. This one of Hailey Berry is similar, where her style and design slopes in through this upper temporal area, and with her jawline it makes her face shape look more diamond. Whereas in this particular image of Halle Berry, where they've increased the width at her temple area, they have then brought the face more in line with an oval look. So it's really important to think about what you need to do with the hair to create the illusion of oval. When we're talking about increasing width around our jawlines, we can do that either on the jawline or behind the ear. And in these images, you will see that they've actually created an element of width at the jawline or softness at the jawline by placing the fullness behind the ear. So that's not shrouding the jawline too much. So with a pear-shaped face, for example, it's a little bit of a catch-22 situation. If you put too much hair on the face, you're inclined to accentuate the fact that the jaw is quite bulky. And if you take the hair away from the jawline, you expose that jawline. So my recommendation with a pear-shaped face is, we all know we need to increase width at the temple area, but we need to just add an element of softness around the jawline to decrease the width, and we can do that either behind the ear or we can do that on the jawline in a diagonal fashion. Now that leads me to the key elements of design in terms of how we create our structures. If we're using horizontal structures, those structures will be strong and bold. So you need to be a little bit careful about popping those on a square face shape or a rectangular face shape. You need to keep diagonal lines across strong rectangles and strong squares. Diagonal lines or features are used to either blend or to soften. So we use a diagonal a diagonal design line to either blend short to long, or we can use it to soften hard edges. Similarly, we use vertical lines to create softness as well. So when we're cutting hair, if we lift the hair vertically, it will fall softly when we've cut it. If we're creating a design style and we shape the hair vertically, then that's going to create a soft look. And I've just got some images here to explain that. So if we have a look at this through here, we can see our strong horizontal lines give us that bold element. Whereas with our diagonal lines, in these two images where we're coming from short to long and short to long, that's giving you a blend or a softness. Our vertical lines are really evident in this particular style, and they can be used on shorter styles. It doesn't have to be just on long styles, but this is a good illustration of a vertical line that creates softness and frames the face. So we have our horizontal, our diagonal, and our vertical lines. And those lines are what you need to be thinking about when you're creating your styles. Now that brings me to profiles. We have 4 profiles. We have a straight profile, which is our perfect profile. We have our convex, which is a profile that curves outwards. Our concave, which is a profile that curves inwards. And we have our low forehead and protruding chin. Now this particular profile of the low forehead and protruding chin almost looks like a client's wandering around with her chin up. So we have to be careful that we're not taking the hair back off this client's face, because it's only going to accentuate the fact that she has a very low forehead. We would instead create fullness or add volume to the forehead, and we would be careful not to bring diagonal volume forward at the jawline, because that's going to extend the jawline further. Instead, we would bring either vertical softness, or we would bring the hair away from the jawline, just so that we're not pointing an arrow to the jaw, if you like. Similarly, with this particular shape, a concave face shape, we need to create a flatter, smoother fringe so that we're not bringing the forehead out any further. We need to create a straight vertical line at the jawline, or we need to take the hair away from the jawline so that we're not bringing the hair forward and pointing at that protruding chin. With a convex face shape, we need to add fullness to bring this into straight. And we need to add soft and diagonal forward lines through the jawline to bring the jawline forward. So using your design skills, both with your face shape and your profiles, to create that illusion, those perfect shapes, straight for your profile and oval for your face shape. Thinking about increasing and decreasing, either length, width or height, and also the volume, increasing the volume or decreasing the volume in terms of your profiles. Remember that horizontal lines are bold, diagonal lines will blend and create an element of softness, and your vertical lines will create an element of softness as well. So that now leaves us to talk about body proportions and our key features of each individual client. If I do the natural features or a person's features that will impact on design, first we would look at neck length. If a client has a short neck, we need to keep the hair away from the neck. If the client has a particularly long neck, we need to actually have hair around the neck softly, so that we're actually not looking like we've got this big long stretched out neck. If we have a client who has big ears that stick out, now a lot of clients will say to us, oh, cover my ears because I've got big ears, you know, and so they want the hair over their ears. You don't necessarily have to cover ears to make them look smaller. You can, for example, as I have in this picture, use hair behind the ears to create the illusion of the ears being closer to the head. So in this particular image here, where you see the ears stick out quite significantly, I've drawn in through here to fill in behind the ears, and that gives you the illusion that the ears are slightly flatter. If a client has a prominent nose, for example, you don't want to be pulling the hair all back off their face, because the nose is going to be like a beacon at you. If they have a birthmark or a scar, you need to be creating soft diagonals to take the hair away from those scars and to perhaps defer the vision, give a focal point somewhere else so that you're not looking at perhaps a birthmark or a scar that a client might be self-conscious of. Recession areas are another area that we'll be talking about in hair tendencies as well. Narrow eyes. Clients like to maximize their eyes, and if we bring hair close around a client's eyes, we're going to make them look narrower, whereas if we open up their shape or their hair, we can actually give the illusion that the client's eyes are further, slightly wider and fuller and brighter. So thinking about those natural attributes of a client as well is really important. In terms of body proportions, we're looking at a client's stature. So if a client is short, for example, we have to be careful that we don't either have the hair flat and long, which is going to bring the client down. We need to add height in some degree, or we need to decrease the length this way so that you're not bringing the client down further. Now likewise, when we have a very tall client, we don't want to be taking all of the hair off really, really short, because it's going to make them look like a little pinhead. And we also need to be careful that we don't have a long, narrow, long, straight look either, because that's going to make them look long and skinny, or longer and skinnier. If a person is tall and slightly fuller figured, then you can look at something that's perhaps a little bit longer and slimmer and narrower to give that illusion of a slimmer stature. So when a client is tall, we don't add height, because it's going to make them look taller, unless of course they want to look 6'5". With a fuller figured person, we have to be careful that we don't give them big hair to match a slightly fuller figure. We need to balance the hair so that it's neither too small nor too big. We have to get that medium balance between the fuller figure and the head. If you crop the hair all off, you're going to accentuate the client as slightly fuller figured. If you have the hair bigger than life itself, then that's going to make the client look slightly fuller figured as well. So the key is to balance your face shape, balance your profiles, and balance your body proportions. Minimize the less than ideal attributes and maximize the ideal attributes. So if somebody's got nice eyes, bring those eyes out. If somebody's got a lovely slender neck, then expose that. And just remembering balance, balance, balance. That is the key when we're looking at design lines and styling. So just to recap, so far we've looked at face shapes, profiles and physical features. We need to now look at the natural hair tendencies in terms of what happens on our front hairline, what happens on our nape growth patterns, whether we have a crown, whether we have a whirl or a natural parting. So in terms of using our styling skills to work with the natural tendencies of hair, there is information in your resource on page 6 for this particular area. Just to be very brief, if a client has a really strong crown area, then we may need to leave the hair slightly longer to help work over that crown area. If a person has a really strong cowlick on her front hairline or a recession area on their front hairline or a really strong widow's peak, we would have to design our fringe to either cover or work with that natural tendency of the hair. Nape growth is another area that we need to think about. So somebody who has a M or a W nape growth pattern that is particularly strong, such as mine, and many of us have this particular shape, it either needs to be all off or it needs to have lots of length to be able to control it. There's no middle ground with that really strong growth pattern on the nape line. Now some people do have really nice nape lines to work with, and that's amazing. And those generally just curve around in a really nice U or a really straight hairline. In terms of natural partings and natural curls, it's really important you work with this. If you work against natural curl, you will find that as the person wears that style for the day, the natural curl will take back over and the hair will either start sticking up, or the set or the blow wave or the design will actually collapse and fall apart. Likewise with a natural parting, you have to work with a natural parting if it's a really strong natural parting. It's certainly advisable to, I shouldn't say categorically have to, but it's advisable to, because a natural parting again will take the hair back to where it naturally falls. I think in conclusion, with your design skills, it's really important to develop the knowledge of how to create that illusion of a perfect face shape and profile, how to work with natural tendencies, how to work with natural curl. As I've said earlier, natural tendencies you need to work with in order to make your styles last longer. When we go through our practical areas of setting and roller placement, I'll elaborate on working against the hair growth patterns and what happens with the hair. So now we're going to look at the practical aspects of roller placement. I'm going to start with an over-directed roller that I'm going to place on the top of the head. With an over-directed roller, we're going to create exaggerated volume, and one of the places that we would complete that would be on the top of the head. So what an over-directed roller does is it pushes the hair from behind the back of the section upward, so you'll have your exaggerated volume at the front. Now these roller placements can be used on the top or at the front hairline where you need to have exaggerated volume. So I'll just turn the mannequin sideways so you can see the projection. So scaling out a section that is at least 1.5, if not 2 times the size of the base. Sorry, 2 times the size of the roller. So it needs to be less than the width of the roller, but it needs to be deeper than the depth of the roller. So if we look at creating a base that's, say, 2 times the size of the roller, and I'll explain how this works. The hair that is projected forward will dry in that placement, so it's going to come forward as it dries. So when the hair is wrapped around the roller, you create a curl at the front of the section, and when you dry the hair and brush the hair back, this hair at the back of the section that has dried forward becomes confused, and so it will stand upright and push the hair at the front of the roller upward. To explain that, when we're working with hair, if we work against the way the hair naturally wants to go or the way in which the hair has been dried, the hair becomes confused and will automatically stand up. So we've talked about that earlier today in terms of natural curl and drying natural curl the way it naturally falls. So you can see the back of the section is back here, the front of the section is here. The hair has been projected forward and the roller rolled in so that the roller sits at the front of the base. I'm now going to create an on-base roller. An on-base roller will provide you with perfect volume. The size of the base should be no wider than the roller and no deeper than the roller. The hair is projected at 135 degrees and the roller is rolled in with an even tension. Try and move my hand so you can see. So as you roll that roller back down, you'll see that it will roll and land on its base because you've projected it forward at 135 degrees. An on-base roller will provide you with with perfect volume and perfect curl. I'm going to show you an under-directed roller. Now this roller will give you reduced volume. So in an area where you wanted to reduce volume at the sides, or if you had a design that was flatter through the top, you could use this placement. Again, like the over-directed roller, you need to use at least a 1.5 to 2 times base. The result you're looking to achieve with an under-directed roller is that you will have perfect volume at the bottom of the base where the roller sits, but reduced volume at the top of the base where the roller is under-directed. So what that will do is it will force the hair sideways. So you will have the perfect volume underneath pushing the hair upward, so it's not going to lie flat, but the hair with the reduced volume at the top of the base will force the hair outwards. So just to show you how to place that roller, we are projecting the hair at 90 degrees and we are tucking our ends under. Try to keep my hand away from the front of the camera and then winding that in. Now you can see the bottom of the base through there, so the roller lands at the bottom of the base because I've projected it at 90 degrees. What will happen is the hair at the bottom, if I pop my comb through there, the hair at the bottom of the base will provide you with perfect volume, while the hair at the top of the base will provide reduced volume. A half base roller will sit half on and half off its base, and these can be used in the sides or anywhere where you want medium volume. Projecting the hair at 90 degrees, the roller will land. I'll move my hand and pop my comb there. The roller will land half on and half off the base. Again, you can see a close-up photo of this on the PowerPoint or in the resource book that's online. An off-base roller is often used through this area here, through the sides. We often need to actually bring our designs or our hair in close to the cheeks or the jaw, so we don't want to be using a roller that's going to provide us with too much volume. You will end up with minimum volume with an off-base roller, and these can be used in areas where you were looking to have no volume. So for example, if you decided you didn't want any volume in this area here, you could use an off-base roller there. When the roller is rolled up to the base, it can sit anywhere in relation to the base as long as it's off the base. So it can be off base close, as in there, or you can drop that down and have that sitting down below the base. So there's the bottom of our base there, and I've dropped that right down off its base. Obviously, the lower you sit your roller, the more reduced your volume is going to be. So far we've looked at an over-directed, under-directed, on-base, half-base and off-base. The last roller I'm going to show you is an indentation roller. Now these are used to create a hollow and a flick. So in this particular instance, I'm going to pop that roller on a double base through this front area. I'm looking to create a flat spot through here with that hollow in the hair there, and I'm going to flick the hair toward the back. Now when we're using these rollers, we may use a 2 times or a 3 times the size of the roller base. In any event, they must be larger than the roller itself. If you just place a roller in a reverse placement, then you're not creating a hollow. You need to have a large base so that you can create that hollow before you create the flick. So in this case, I'm actually, just move that pin, I'm actually taking the hair from the parting, scaling the hair out, and I'm going to wind the hair. If you have a look at the section, it's a reasonably square section there. I'm going to wind the hair on a diagonal. If I've moved my hand out of the way. So rather than rolling the hair parallel to the parting, like so, just quickly show you that, I'm going to roll it on a diagonal. Now the reason I'm not rolling the hair parallel to the parting is because when that hair is combed up, if I rolled it parallel to the parting, then it would flick like so, and that's probably not what you're after on a front hairline. You might use that placement at the nape if you're wanting to flick your nape upward or kick out some area through the bottom of a design. So in this instance, I'm bringing the hair down on a diagonal from the base, and I am rolling the hair upward. The projection can be at 0 degrees to between 0 and 45 degrees, depending on where your roller's sitting. And you can see how I have a nice hollow here, and then I have rolled the roller up to the base, which is just right there, just right here if my hand's in the way. And it's on that 45, so that when the hair is dressed out, it's going to flick backward. I'll just get this hair out of the way. If you have a pin that sits on the skin, you'd probably need to put some cotton wool or paper underneath that so it wasn't uncomfortable for the client, or you would need to secure your pin back to another roller to lever off so that you can actually keep it on the head. In regards to the placement of that, with rolling that back on the 45, you can see that I'm going to end up with my hollow and my flick on a backward angle. So, to recap, we have looked at 6 roller placements today. An over-directed roller will give us exaggerated volume. Let's get that quickly out of the way. An on-base roller will give us perfect volume. This one here, perfect volume. An under-directed roller will give us reduced volume. A half-base roller will give us medium volume. And an off-base roller will give us minimum volume. And remember that this one is our indentation roller, which produces a hollow and a flick. Now you should be able to have a mannequin in the salon or your training provider that you can actually experiment with these roller placements, and it's really good for you to actually just have a bit of fun playing around with the different roller placements to see what the result will be and how they actually move and push the hair around to create the different designs and styles.